What is going on, guys? It's Brent from Team Draw Better. Welcome back to another video. First things first, I want to apologize for taking a little long to make this next video. I had a few things going on, with the most recent being I just got back from the Philadelphia Regional, and we're going to be going over a deck profile that I used in the Regional, and it's going to be MIMIGHOULS. So before we jump into it, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more. So without further ado, we're going to jump straight into it. So before I dive into the deck, this was my first regional, and I was expecting to go X4 or X5. There was 10 rounds of Swiss. I only played 7 because I sort of did the math in my head and I found out I wasn't going to top. So I dropped out a little early after round 7. But I went, for my first regional, I'm pretty happy with myself. I went 3-3-1. So my losses were against Malice, Tenpai, and my favorite one by far, and this is when I dropped out of the tournament after, but my final loss was against Fiendsmith Cyber Dragon. So it was extremely amazing to see that deck at the regional. And honestly, I was happy to lose to it because that's one of my favorite decks. My wins were against Stardust, White Forest Azamina, and Blue Eyes. And then the draw was against Ryziel. But without further ado, that's enough about the regional. It's pretty, so compared to the last MIMIGHOULS deck, it's still pretty standard. We play 3 Dragon, that's your best normal summon. We play 3 Archfiend just because this helps you flip monsters on your opponent's side easier. I did bump up Fairy to 3, and I'm glad I did because this card was amazing. Every time, like, Dragon would get impermed or ashed, or Maker would get ashed, this would be an extender to help me get to Dungeon, because if I have Dragon or any other MIMIGHOULS on field, just special summon this and you can easily overlay into Giant. I cut Slime to 1. Slime was sort of mid, but like it still helped sometimes because I would go Maker, reveal Archfiend, and Slime. A majority of the time, Slime would get special to their field, and then I could flip it with Archfiend to summon out Master. But I did cut Slime to 1 because he's just okay. I think it's still needed in the deck for like extending, but Slime at 1 feels okay. Same thing with Armor. Armor was another good extender in case Dragon got ashed or something along those lines, because if I was going second, I could just special this. And then I'm playing 1 Master. This was still pretty easy to get to because if I already made Giant, got the card I needed, then I had 2 more bodies. I would just go into Throne and then summon him, and then have a card bounce with Throne and Master. But Master's still really good because that's what actually won me the game against I believe it was Blue Eyes, because I had Dragon set on their field. I had Master out. They brought out Maiden and Blue Eyes White Dragon. And on the summon of Maiden, I went Master effect to flip Dragon. Blew up their Blue Eyes and Maiden, and they just couldn't synchro summon. So Master's still really good. It gives good interaction. Moving on, we play 1 Bestial Magnamut. Magnamut is just for some interaction in the graveyard, as well as searching Dragon, because Dragon's a dragon. Kashtira package. This was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I played 3 Unicorn and 1 Fenrir for the monsters. So up against White Forest Azamina, I was going first because I won the die roll. I started with Unicorn. He ashed the Unicorn ad to grab Birth. That's fine. I said on res, Unicorn, look at your extra deck. And I got rid of the Azamina search target. I think it's Rusialago. And then on the following turn, I flipped a Mimighoul face up on their field. I think it was fairy, so they couldn't activate special summon monsters from the hand. Really strong against White Forest, by the way, and Azamina. And then on res again, I went Unicorn, and I banished their White Forest Searcher, which is the Silvera. No, that's the Book of Moon. It's the other level 6 Synchro that gets search targets. But after I banished that one, they sort of just wasted time because they couldn't get their engine going anymore. So Kashtira package in this is still really strong. It makes Fenrir and Unicorn activations free practically because you're flipping monsters. So yeah, would highly recommend this in the deck. Pure is also really fun, but I was trying to be a little more competitive with this. Despite it being my first regional, I was still trying to have fun. That's why I played this deck. But next, we're going to move on to the spells and traps. So first things first. Whoops. Get that dragon out of there. First things first. Play 3 Dungeon. Dungeon is absolutely amazing. I can't tell you how many times I put people in the dungeon lock and they could not get out of it. And the search was really nice as well because, like, you can just continuously add if they don't get rid of it. Once per turn add, but still. I had the Blue Eyes player. So I didn't really need a search. I more so needed my monsters boosted because they weren't summoned that turn. So the Blue Eyes player made a Seals after I got rid of their Synchro material. And I went to main phase. I activated a Maker. They chained Seals to bounce Dungeon after I already searched. But the thing is, like, I can just activate Dungeon again because you can activate it more than once per turn. You just can't search more than once per turn. So all my monsters got boosted up again. I was able to swing directly for game, so that was really nice. I cut Maker to 2, and honestly, it felt fine because you can search it pretty easily. We still run Talents and Thrust, so if you summon a Mimighoul on their side face down, and you already activated one earlier in the turn, you can thrust to add because your opponent controls a monster. So it's still really easy to grab off of either Dragon, Giant, or Thrust. So that's why I cut it to 2. It feels pretty good at 2. I'm probably going to leave it there. So I built the deck a little different because we are actually playing 1 Mimighoul Charm. And the reason why, and if you don't know this, I'll read it. Once per chain during the main phase, if a Mimighoul is flipped up, you can randomly choose 1 face-down card in your opponent's extra deck, and if it can be special summoned, summon it to your field, but it can't activate its effects this turn, and if it can't be summoned, banish it. So I built this deck, this version of the deck, with just, like, ripping away the opponent's extra deck, hence this and Kashtira Unicorn, and it was pretty decent, and there's some spice in the side deck that we'll get to that adds to that, but we're playing 2 Talent and 2 Thrust. These are practically free in the deck because you're activating effects on the opponent's side, so it immediately turns these on. We're playing 1 Kashtira Birth, that's for the Unicorn, and then we're playing 3 copies of Room. So Room was amazing as well, because this is what continuously kept people under the dungeon lock of not being able to normal summon and not being able to attack with special summon monsters. Also, I had a Giant on field against the Rizio player, and Dungeon boosted it to 33, and I just didn't interact so that I wouldn't trigger Detonator. And they couldn't beat over it, so they passed. I went for my turn and just immediately beat over the Detonator. And they must have forgotten about Detonator's battle phase battle protection, because Detonator can protect itself, but they just let it get destroyed. So yeah. But Room was really good. It helped me dodge a Imperm on Dragon at one point because I used this on their turn and then they set an imperm and passed sort of thing. I drew, it was a dragon, summoned the dragon, and I went to grab a maker to like close out the game. And they chained imperm, I chained room to bounce dragon back to my hand so the search would still go. And yeah. So that's it for the spells and traps. We're going to move on to the hand traps real quick. I do not play a lot, and honestly it felt fine because I saw them a lot regardless, but I just play 3 Ash, 3 Dimension Shifter, and 3 Imperm. Shifter shut down Ryziel, Blue Eyes, etc. It was pretty good, but we're going to move on to the extra deck. Now, the extra deck was really fun because I think I built it pretty well. We're playing 1 Anima. This helped me get rid of a bunch of nib tokens before, because I do, actually no. I sided this in or out most of the time just because I didn't really need it, but I was going to side Nibiru, and I mostly kept this in for getting rid of the token, but it didn't come up. SP, self-explanatory. IP, it's broken in this deck because you can flip your Mimighouls, they'll come to your field, and you just have enough material for IP. I play a Nightmare Unicorn just to spin stuff and to link climb. Nightmare Griffin. This was really good because I made it with IP. So Dungeon Lock plus this, you can't really beat it. 1 access code just to clear the board. We play for the XZs 2 Giant and 1 Throne. These are really good. Obviously, you go into that to get more searches. This can bounce cards on the field, which did come up. Blue Eyes, they normal summoned Ether Barrel. I booked it with Room, so they still got their search with setting the Primite spell, but they had Mausoleum in hand, so they didn't bother linking. They went Mausoleum, and they tried to additional normal summon the Sage. They grabbed their Maiden, but I bounced the Sage back to hand, so they couldn't go into Spirit with Eyes of Blue. But I play 1 Ripplebird. Ripplebird was amazing, honestly. It was really amazing. Because not once per turn you can detach a material and change a monster's battle position. It is targeting. And then while all your monsters are in attack position, they gain 500 attack, and while all your monsters are in defense, your opponent can't declare an attack. So really good. My opponent had I forget which one it was. I think it was Sword. It was one of the Ryziel monsters from the main deck. It only had 500 attack, and he summoned it in defense, and I was able to stop him from getting to Duo Drive. So on my turn, I Ripplebird, changed it to attack, and I swung with Giant Mimighoul while it was boosted to do a lot of damage, and then I had a Unicorn and one other monster to attack for a decent amount of damage, and then I burned for game round 2. But moving on, more flip effects. I play number 13. Number 13 was really good because this helped me clear out the White Forest board a little bit, because I booked one of their monsters and then I had a dragon, so I went into this to flip them at the same time so the dragon would destroy them. Zeus package, Assembled Nightingale, Downerd, and Zeus, and then I play Typhon. Typhon was great. Like I said, I think the whole extra deck was pretty solid. I tried to build it with a lot of thought, and I think I did. So we're going to move on to the side deck, and we're just going to jump straight into the spice, because I played in the side deck 3 copies of Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. This was fantastic against the meta decks, because alongside it, I side in a Ryziel Detonator, a Malice White Binder, and a Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon as targets. So it's funny because when I lost against Malice, we did go to game 3, because game 2, I sided these 2 in, and I banished their White Binder, and they were going into waste resources by going into Heart's Cryptor to shuffle this back, And that's when, like, they went to go Heart's Cryptor to shuffle the white binder back and banish a card, and I impermed it. So they just ended on a Heart's Cryptor, and that's not really ideal. You still get a banish, but yeah, this was fantastic. I did banish all copies of Spirit Dragon against the Blue Eyes player, and then unfortunately they were running 3 copies, so they really couldn't do anything. 4 Malice, 3 Lancia, 1 Artifact Sanctum, self-explanatory. 1 D-Barrier, just against, like, mostly Ryziel, and could go against Mermail too. I did flip this up against Tenpai to, like, keep myself alive for a turn, but unfortunately it didn't work out that well. 1 Harpy's Featherstorm. And I have this because when I make Ripplebird and they stop something, I can just thrust, set this, and I control a Windwing Beast, so this is live. Evenly matched. Nobody's making Omni Negates anymore besides, like, White Forest Azamina with the Azamina Omni Negate, so evenly was really strong. I dropped this a couple times, and then I play the 3rd Thrust and a Lightning Storm for back row hate. The Odeon deck scares me. I have no idea how to play against it. Luckily I didn't, but that's actually what won the regional. It was Fiendsmith Odeon, and that's kind of crazy. But that's going to do it for the Mimighoul regional deck profile, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really had a blast for my first regional because, like, I was expecting to do horrible, and I honestly felt like I broke even. So I feel pretty good. It was a fun time, and yeah. But if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you.